We're going to have just me and the longer ending for a while. And I asked for questions on Sunday, and I didn't get any, so you're just going to listen to me ramble for a little while longer. I guess if I had to pick something to talk about, I wish I would have connected the dots for an application a little bit clearer. And I'll take another go around at that. And as I do, you're going to recognize all this material was in the sermon. I think the stuff was there, just about connecting the dots for a real clear application. Maybe I didn't do a good job at that. What is the application? The application is that as we read the book of Revelation, Christians will be encouraged. We talked about the early church. Is animosity with the empire, with the state, is that a new thing at the time of John's writing the book of Revelation? Of course not. Right? The church has not known anything but animosity with the Roman Empire, and has not known anything but Caesar worship. The entire history of the Christian church to 95 AD, wherever we're going to date the writing of Revelation, the entire history of the early church is dealing with the problem of Caesar worship, and its application all throughout life. Right? We said the arts and job placement, the guilds, all these kinds of things had elements of the Caesar worship as part of it. But we did say Domitian, who's emperor at the time of John's writing, does bring about some kind of shift in the nature of the persecution. Okay, persecution, nothing new. Caesar worship, nothing new. Domitian brings something new. Domitian says, not only are the Caesars who came before me deities, but now I, alive and well, am a deity, and you need to worship me. And so he became, for the first time, this alive figure of persecution, right? Persecution had a name. And again, persecution is not new. People would say Nero had a name, and he was a lot worse than Domitian was. It's right. But it's just the nature of things with a living Caesar commanding worship changes things. And I wondered aloud, just careful wondering, not a prophetic wondering, what the nature of the Christian church here in the West, in the United States, are we undergoing some kind of change? Sure, most people would agree that there's been a change in our relationship with the state, right? Less and less we seem aligned with the politics, with the thrust of culture, right? It's a post-Christian America. It's a postmodern America. All these things antithetical, of course, to the church. So maybe like the time of Revelation, we're undergoing sort of this kind of marked animosity with the empire. And so in what ways does Revelation provide for us, like it does the original 7 churches? In what ways does it provide encouragement? Well, a number of things that we'll get into eventually, right? We'll see that the enemy of the church is not nearly as strong as we might think sometimes that it is. We'll see that the enemy is actually this counterfeit version of the church, or trying to be like some pretty poor knockoff, right? So if you get a Chanel bag, I'm told, are amazing and super, super high quality. But you can get a knockoff Chanel bag that it is a lot cheaper and the quality is a lot worse. And so we see the enemy of the church set up in the book of Revelation, or we will see as we go, to be this knockoff version, this counterfeit version of what the church actually is. And the Antichrist, then, this sort of spirit of evil, that flows from the evil one, right, is set up to be this counterfeit or this knockoff version of God. It's worse. It's clearly worse, right? It doesn't hold together. It doesn't have the kind of power that God, Christ, and His church have. So we're going to see that the enemy is much weaker than sometimes we think it is. We'll see that for the church, victory is a sure thing, even when it seems like the church is dead. That's an image we're going to find later on in Revelation. Even when it looks like the law and the prophets have ceased, they've died, the world has killed them, they are put under, still God comes and to the church and to His word and calls them. He says, "Come up here," later in Revelation. And so we see that the church is never put asunder. We know that from Jesus, but we get that's an encouragement that we get in Revelation. So we've got all these things later in the book that provide encouragement for us. But I think all of those things flow downhill from something else. The fact that the enemy is weak flows downhill from the blood of Christ, His victory on the cross. The fact that victory is a sure thing for the church flows downhill from the fact that our Christ lives, as Revelation 1 says, forever and ever. Right? I was dead, now am alive forever and ever. So, like I said, I think that the stuff was there because the main point of the sermon was that in Revelation we need to see Jesus, or we're missing the point. And more than just seeing Jesus, we need to see who He is and what He's done for us. And of course, there's this just awesome creedal statement we talked about in Revelation 1. We're told that Jesus is God. They share the same title. Jesus is Lord and God. And yet, though He's Lord and God, He becomes a witness to us, and a faithful one at that. Though He is a faithful witness, still he's put to death, and it's the blood that forgives sins, Revelation 1 reminds us. And he was dead, but now He's the living one. He's alive forever and ever. He reigns. He has authority, we're told in Revelation chapter 1. That's going to become important as we sort of identify these major ways that these major boxes that people use to interpret eschatology, Revelation, and prophecies of the last days. I'm an amillennial. We'll get there. I'll save that one in the bag for another time. But Jesus is reigning now. We see that in Revelation 1, reign with power. He set us up to be doing things, to be active. We're a kingdom and priests to God, to serve His God and Father. And then it says He's coming. He's going to come on the clouds, and everyone will see. So we have this awesome creedal statement about who Christ is, and it's because of that. I guess that's where I was trying to get at. There are some ways that we can kind of connect ourselves to John's original audience with this shift in the way that we relate to the state. But never fear, right? This is what Revelation does for us. It gives us great peace, but not because the enemy's so wimpy. And not because we've got some special ability, like there's some power in us, like we're the superheroes, right? That's how we were able to connect ourselves with God. We were so good, or we were so smart, or we had so much power. We spoke so well. I mentioned Gnosticism, or we had some special insider knowledge because we read Revelation and we deciphered the numbers just right. It's none of those reasons that makes our victory a sure thing. It's none of those reasons that makes the enemy so weak comparatively. It's because of Jesus, and that's what John makes abundantly clear in chapter 1.